What's up, traders? This is Vee Trades, and today we'll be doing a technical analysis breakdown for MicroStrategy Incorporated with the ticker symbol MSTR. I will first be going over what I see on the daily chart and finish the video off with the weekly chart. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Please trade at your own risk. So today is the last day of the week, guys. So we're going to wrap up the market analysis for MicroStrategy, and we'll probably get more, some sort of volatility increase, hopefully by the time the inauguration is over on January 20th. So I'm going to answer a couple questions that I've been getting in my comments section. If you guys want to ask any more technical questions, please leave in the comments down below, and I'll try to do a MicroStrategy video update tomorrow. Not really based on the price action, but more on just any technical questions you have. Again, I'm not a fundamental analyst, more of a technical guy. So if you guys have any technical questions about the charts, I can do it tomorrow on MicroStrategy. Let's take a look at anything related to MicroStrategy as well. I'll try to answer. So let's take a look at the daily chart. What's happening? Well, some indecision going on today, carrying over from Wednesday's price action. You can see that's a very similar type of bar. This is known as a doji. A doji is basically a cross, and whenever you see a cross, it's a smaller time frame. It's a higher time frame trading range. So basically, if I go on it's a smaller time frame. Smaller time frame trading range. So on the daily chart, it looks like a doji or a cross. If you go on a smaller time frame, let's just go to the 15-minute. So you're going to see today's price action as sideways trading. See how it's kind of going sideways more than up or down. So again, you can see that on a higher time frame that it's a doji. Today is basically indecision. Sellers were able to drop it back down to 317. Buyers were able to drive it back up to 344, but now we're kind of in the middle. So this is indecision going on right now. Why are we seeing indecision? Well, generally, you're going to see indecision when big news events are approaching or the technicals aren't really clear in the bullish or bearish direction. So we do have this bearish trend line in play right over here. You see that price is kind of still below this trend line. However, this was another question that came up. I drew my trend line off of the wick right here, and then another wick, and that's what the trend line that I was using, wick to wick. And then this one, if you do it like that, it looks like we had a break of the trend line, and it looks like we're back testing it for support for further higher prices. So is this the way you draw the trend line, or is it off the close of the initial point, or the opening of the body of the candle to the wick of this candle? And that means that we're still kind of technically below the trend line. So which one is it? So again, it's discretionary, right? This isn't a perfect science to MicroStrategy. It's not 100% accurate how you draw your trend lines. It's just the best way to say it is whatever the market is doing at the moment. So as of right now, it looks like it's still kind of bearish. So I would say that it's still below the trend line. Some traders might have it like this. So this is where, the market moves, right? You have this indecision between buyers and sellers. Some traders are bullish, some traders are bearish, and that's how you get the market moving. There's an imbalance between buying and selling pressure. So we'll see which one wins at the end. It could be a bullish breakout, or it could be still a bearish trend line in play. So we don't know for sure as right now, and that's what's also leading to this indecision because traders are confused. They're like, okay, well, which one is it? Well, again, there's some discretion, and you just have to wait and see which one plays out. As right now, you don't have to be perfect how you draw your trend lines. It just has to be close enough and make sense. You don't want to draw a trend line like that. I mean, that's not really helpful. It's not really showing this bearish momentum downward. In this case, it is over here. And if anything, you could even draw it off of this swing right here to this swing. And this actually makes sense. You can see that the wick right here, the body opening to this wick, it looks like we're still below this trend line right here. Is price really moving at this type of angle? It kind of is. You can see that it's kind of moving at that sort of angle, so it does make sense. So that's what lends me to believe that we're probably still below the trend line. But again, the market will decide at the end of the day which one is correct or not. And also, we have the trend line in play, either bullish or bearish. I'm going to keep it as bearish because it looks like it fits better. Also, there is this bullish level right here that's still holding for the bulls. You see that there's a support level at this 327, 328 level, lower 330 level, and we're still holding on to that level. So basically what I'm trying to say is that there is a bearish downtrend in play, but with a slight bullish imbalance in the short term. So you can say there's a bullish divergence going on here in the short term where price is making a higher low. So right now it is setting up to be a higher low for higher prices, but we're still below the trend line, and we're probably still below this trend line right here, acting as resistance right around the, I believe it was right around the 365, 366 level. So again, it's a lot of indecision in the market. You see there's bullish signs, there's bearish signs, there's bullish and bearish signs, meaning the trend line could be bullish and bearish. So again, that's why we're seeing a decision right now. Bitcoin is also just continuing to trade sideways, not really doing much, still within its trading range for the past month now. It is holding on support, so that's why it's bouncing up today, but we'll see what happens. But again, that's how I draw my trend lines, basically generally off the wicks, the wick on the initial point, and then depending on how the trend looks, will be off the body or the wick of the second swing, and you just draw it whatever fits better. You have to adjust these trend lines too. They're not always going to be. First of all, the trend line was something like this previously, and then price broke it, so we have to adjust the trend line. Price broke this one, so is it back testing for support? Are we just in a wider downtrend? So you have to figure out which one is correct, and you can't be 100% on one side. So I'm open to adjusting it to a breakout if price does continue higher. But either way, there is still resistance at the 367, 366 level. So again, that's how I do my trend lines. They're discretionary, they're subjective, but you just have to go off of what works the best on the chart and what other traders are most likely seeing. And the next question I want to answer is, if Bitcoin crashes, why do I think MicroStrategy will crash? I mean, that's pretty obvious. MicroStrategy is only probably going up right now because of its Bitcoin holdings on its balance sheet. I mean, it's not going up because it's a software company. It was basically a zombie company for a couple of decades. And then all of a sudden, back in 2020, when it started buying Bitcoin, that's when it started appreciating. So again, it's very closely tied to Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin crashes, I'm expecting MicroStrategy to crash. So the next question would be, well, why do I expect Bitcoin to crash? Well, that's what it did in its prior three last bull cycles. From 2013 to 2015, it was a bear market and it dropped 86%. From 2017 to about 2018, it was an 84% drop. So it's about a year. 2021 to 2022, about another year of a bear market, 77%. So 86% drop, 84% drop, 77% drop. So the next one is probably going to be close to 77, probably in the 70s, probably 72% of a drop. So again, it happened three times. I mean, are you going to bet against something that happened three times already? I wouldn't. That's what technical analysis is, right? We go with what has happened, and most likely it will happen again, especially if it's on track to do that. Right now, it's on track to do that. Crash when it gets up to those higher price levels. It doesn't look like it won't happen. Maybe it won't. Maybe, it only drop maybe 20, 30%. But I'm expecting a bigger pullback than any other time in the bull cycle, probably upwards of 70% this coming year, probably into 2026. And MicroStrategy will probably be more than that. So it'll probably go to somewhere in the 80s, possibly even the 90s. So again, if Bitcoin did it three times already, most likely it will do it again. And it looks like the drops, the bear markets are getting the weaker. They're not dropping as much as before because, again, there's more, the market cap's higher. As the market cap continues to go higher and higher, it's not going to be dropping 90%. And, as it ages, it's going to be more mature. So I'm expecting the bear cycles to decrease. Maybe not in terms of time, but in terms of percentage. So it looks like we have 86 in 2013 to 2015, 84 from 2017 to 2018, 77 from 2021 to 2022, high to low. So this next one probably would be maybe 75, maybe 72. I don't expect it to be 50. I mean, that's such a large difference. It's still very new, and there's a lot of potential left. So I'm expecting probably between 77 and 70 would be a good target for the next drop. That means MicroStrategy will crash. I personally would not want to hold anything through the crash. It's going to take, probably a couple years to recover, and there's no reason to hold it through that crash. So I'm personally going to be selling my MicroStrategy shares right around the top. So we'll see what happens. So hopefully that answers the question of why Bitcoin. Why do you think Bitcoin will crash, and why do you think MicroStrategy will crash as well? So I answered the trendline question. I answered the Bitcoin crashing and MicroStrategy crashing question. Probably again, those going to be depending on how bullish we are. Most likely, generally the cycles are about 4 years. So that this one is due to top out sometime towards the end of the year, Q3, Q4. However, if it's more bullish, it might be left translated. If it's bearish, it might be. If it's more less bullish, it might be more like kind of right translated, slower. But generally, it's probably going to be sometime this year in terms of time. The last question: what do I think when Trump gets in office in 2020? Well, I think that's when these crypto-related stocks will probably start to take off. Maybe not on that exact date, maybe slightly before, maybe slightly after, but right around that time, I'm expecting price to start doing something. Bitcoin's been pretty flat for about a month now, going on to probably 2 months. So I think the big money is waiting for this big news event to come out, and once it comes out and it's more certain, then that's when the market can probably rally. And you can see that MicroStrategy, most of the drop has already been done. I'm not expecting it to drop that much more. Can we still get to the 275 and 240? Yes, we can, but I think just most of the drop has already been done. Most of the damage to MicroStrategy has been done. If we do go lower, it's probably not much. So what I'm trying to say is the bottom is very near, especially with this bullish divergence showing as right now, and price is still holding on to the 325 level. But we'll see what happens. It's still below the trend line, still below the 365, 366 level. So hopefully that answers the question about the new presidency in January 20th. And that's only, let's say about let's see, the today is basically over. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 5 to 6 days of more trading for that period or that news event to come out. So we'll see what happens, but very close. And I think there's going to be some slight indecision going into that. Looking at the weekly chart, see on the weekly chart, it fits better that we're still below the trend line. So again, sometimes different time frames can help you draw better your trend lines. So on the weekly chart, you would use it on the top wick to this swing. It looks like we're still below it. So it does make more sense that we're still below the trend line. So again, using a different time frame can also help you draw your trend lines better. So we're still kind of bearish as of right now. So we could still see that drop lower. Again, I'm still expecting it to. I'm just saying is that there's a slight bullish divergence going on that can change the entire picture. Instead of price dropping, it might have already bottomed and we could see a rally. So it's not as clear as it once was before because we're seeing that bullish divergence now. Looking at the weekly chart, on the log scale, it still looks like we're still correcting lower. I don't think it's over yet. You can see that we had this trend line right over here, and then we went in a steeper trend line. So again, if price does drop down lower, we could probably tag this trend line and then rally higher. But overall, MicroStrategy looks pretty good. Long term, short term, we're seeing some indecision, slight bullish divergence, but I'm expecting price to still kind of drop down lower. I'm looking for another drop in Bitcoin. Today could just be a short-term rally for a drop coming into next week. And then once it bottoms out, that's probably when we will see the rally. So I think Bitcoin, it looks to be targeting $86,000. And that target is right around January 20th. It's kind of funny how these things line up. It's kind of like the same period back in before Bitcoin broke out, before it went to 108, it was at 70,000, and for a long time it had a struggle. It would struggle to break the 70,000, and then if you look in the price action, it's trending up higher, right towards that $70,000 level. And right when the news event comes out that Trump won, that's exactly when price started rocketing higher. Even though the price action beforehand was looking bullish for the past several weeks, so it looked likely to break out. And they used the catalyst of the Trump winning to push up the price higher. So I think the same thing is going to happen again. They're going to use the inauguration to push up the price higher, even though the chart was bullish to begin with. It was setting up to be bullish to begin with. That's generally how these news events happen. So all that for MicroStrategy and daily weekly charts. This is Vee Trades. Thank you for your time.